FBI trades kids for info on Iran. Hey, it's Susan. Welcome to today's episode of War Crimes Unit. Nice to see you. Don't forget to get a Damsel in Defense stun gun. 7.5 million volts. Could save your life one day. It saved mine. You can get one by shopping online at the iSue's Home Shopping Mall on Facebook. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me get to the meat of this disaster and sum this whole thing up with the FBI, the CIA, the State Department, Homeland Security, and so forth. Remember, everything we're dealing with is that we're dealing with terrorism. Now, if you have watched the media in the last, decade or so, Iran has been a little, how should we say, tension building, and, talking about nuclear bombs and whether or not they're going to blow up the U.S., and so forth. Okay, so that's one issue we got. Another issue we got is that my ex-boyfriend claims to be from Iran. Now, his his deportation judgment is for Iran. He always claimed to be from Iran, but I even question whether or not he was really from Iran, and maybe perhaps he might be Egyptian, or at least have some Egyptian in him. I don't know. Everything's up for debate, but his ICE deportation judgment is to Iran. Now, if you remember decades back, the United States ceased formal relations with Iran. So this is back in the 70s when their embassy got overthrown by that group of whatever they called them back then, rebels, overthrew the State Department embassy in Tehran. So we ceased formal relations with Iran. Remember, they held all those hostages and that whole big mess and so forth. Okay, so we don't have formal relations with Iran. The United States does not. And then we've got my ex-boyfriend who claims to be from Iran. And then we've got the fact that he was investigated by the FBI and by a joint terrorism task force based on a report that I made to FBI agent Darren Murphy back in 2004 on suspicious activity that my retired neighbor detective questioned might be terrorism or linked into terrorism. So you following this? So we have the issue of Iran not having formal relations, State Department, and the terrorism mix into this. Okay, you following? So Iran apparently is not happy with us, or happy with the United States, happy with your country, the United States. I'm in Mexico. So Iran is not happy with the United States. So Iran would like to take out the United States if they could, right? Okay, so, the FBI claims, or the government claims that they would not want this, right? So the thing about it is that they can't get in to Iran to do any kind of like undercover investigations or anything like that, or sneak in or whatever, some spy stuff, and because the U.S. doesn't have formal relations with Iran, because the State Department severed the ties with Iran based on their embassy being overthrown in the hostage situation, right? So what would be the best way for the FBI to get information on terrorism, or to get information on Iran? Well, that would be to make a plea bargain with my ex-boyfriend. See, my ex-boyfriend wanted to take my son, my little boy Adrian, and his half-sister Brooke to the country of Iran. He said there was nothing I could do to stop it. That was back in 2004. So that's what he wants, or wanted. It's not that he wanted the kids, he wanted them for the crime ring. The Iranian grandmother had come over on the boat and so forth. He didn't really want the kids, he just wanted to use the kids. The FBI wanted information on Iran. So they arrest, Homeland Security Special Agent Peter Lazaro arrest my ex-boyfriend with no intention, apparently, of ever prosecuting him. The only reason that they really arrested him was really so they could make a plea bargain with him, so he could give them information on terrorism and information on Iran. And he wanted the kids, so they all made sure, this joint terrorism task force, made sure that my ex-boyfriend, the terrorist, the guy that they determined to be a terrorist, got the kids. So that is the motive. They came up with all kinds of scams to make sure that happened, including beating up my child, including human trafficking me for labor wages, including sex trafficking scandals, property scandals, anything that this law enforcement jackass task force can do to keep me down, they've done. There's not one thing that they haven't done except for assault me and murder me. And believe me, Believe me, they've been working on this whole assault thing. Assault and murder, they've been trying. Okay, that's today's episode of War Crimes Unit. How the FBI gets information on Iran. Well, they use children. Keep your stun gun or machine gun handy. There's real criminals and terrorists out there and a lot of law enforcement fucking jackasses. I'll see you next time.